So let me ask a question, Mayor. No, you can answer it.
So,
When we're
Right,
meeting,
2 seconds.
that's okay. I don't think this will be a question down the line, but I mean, if we're vaccinated and we're in a meeting like this.
Yes.
Question with the mayor.
Yes.
Can we, I mean,
let me double check, but I just looked at this the other day, and I believe that, it was indoors, yes, we need to wear.
we are like a ridiculous
Indoor
amount
mask.
of people.
I did that on purpose. So that we could like spread out a little bit. And
I'll go maskless.
We're all set.
No,
I'll go maskless.
no. Well, we'll confirm first. Before we do any of that.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah, I'll confirm it.
You know, as we're the death of it, we don't.
I'm one of the vaccinated.
Are we ready to start the?
You are.
All right, so now starting the May meeting of the Common Council of the City of Plattsburgh City Operations Committee. It's May 10th, 2021. It's 5 p.m. We'll take attendance first. Chairperson McFarland is present. Councilor Canales.
Here.
Councilor Gibbs.
Here.
And Mayor Rosenquist.
Here.
All present. Number one, we have approval of the minutes of the April 12, 2021 City Operations Committee meeting. Is it
Motion.
moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Mayor Rosenquist? Any changes, any concerns regarding the minutes? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call. Councilor McFarland votes yes. Councilor Canales?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Rosenquist?
Yes.
That item passes. Number two, we have the city clerk, and 2.1 is discussion of city clerk collection reports, pages 1 through 2 of our packet. Now, Sylvia, did you want to give just a brief update of what's in pages 1.1 and 2 of the packet?
It's the same information that's on every monthly report. There's a slight uptick in merit, obviously, and
I will say, Mary, how many ceremonies have I performed? 9, 8 or 9? Yeah, 8, yeah.
we have one,
Since the beginning of the year, so
we have one book for June, so you're all.
Right. that's me.
Do you do them right here at City Hall?
Yeah,
Or do you-
sometimes in my office, sometimes on the front steps.
Have you got any house calls?
Not yet, but I will in June.
Nice.
Now, is that new for you because of your position here?
I've performed one ceremony in December as a internet pastor kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty fascinating. It's a lot of fun. It is.
Now, Sylvia, you said the vendors are up, I imagine that has something to do with the truck.
No, the venue.
Oh, venue.
Yeah. Actually, we did get food truck in today.
Oh, nice.
I think they're gonna start trickling in as people, part of it is, I think, the, farmer's market, kind of did a blanket, we invite food trucks down, and they did let them know that they did have to come to the city clerk's office to get permits, but I think it was so late in the week, when people noticed it, that they just didn't have time to get the paperwork together, so I think we'll see them start trickling in now.
Fair enough, and was the permit that was purchased, was that one of the monthly ones, was it a full year one?
It was one of the monthly ones, and I think with this individual, it's kind of, she's new to actually doing it off on private property, so she wanted to see how it would go.
Perfect.
If it's all the same to the council, you know, I would be so inclined to, I know it's not part of the item for the legislation itself, but I'd be inclined to say, look, if you want to upgrade to a yearly from a monthly, or from a monthly to a semi-annual, or monthly to an annual, or if you want to upgrade, we'll include the cost of what you've already paid.
Get the credits, you can try the
Yeah.
monthly if it works
Yeah, I like
out.
that.
Like subscription based. I think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you credited the amount that you've already paid towards your upgrade. That's cool. That's fair.
That makes
I
sense.
think that's a good idea,
I like
especially
that.
because it's new and people might,
Yeah.
change their minds or.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That
figure
sounds
that.
like a great idea. And this segues very nicely into 2.2, which is community and public events. And I believe Councilor Gibbs brought this up on the venues, like we started charging for stages and stuff like that. How is that going, or how does it look like our summer slate
Yeah.
for events?
There are a number of events, and so I wanted to include both the privately held or organized events, as well as the public events that were scheduled for. Public publicly, in partnership with the Battle of Plattsburgh group, Rotary, we are looking at hosting the Mayor's Cup and Battle of Plattsburgh this year. 4th of July, we'll coordinate 4th of July as well. We've already, we solicited for fireworks, so we are looking to pass or approve that RFP at some point. We haven't already, gotta go back and look. The holiday parade in the wintertime that we normally host, so we're going to hosting that as well. We do have 5 fishing tournaments in the city of Plattsburgh this year, which is a big deal, right? So that's a nice little bump in traffic for us. The application for the Harborside event has gone through. I believe everything has been organized from that perspective. There had been a number of emails back and forth with the organizer to get all the details. So all the details have been resolved.
Will this operate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then we do also have a number of other private organizations that are in the gazebo at the Oval. So looking good.
Yeah.
Nice, so you can rent the gazebo at the Champlain.
You can rent any of the gazebos, any of the parks. We, like, for example, for the events that we will be co-hosting, we're likely not going to be looking at any event fee for those folks because it's going to be a partnership. They're going to organize, the city will provide in-kind services based on what they need in there for their event. So we'll look at that kind of partnership with those types of co-hosting events.
And is, now Mayor's Cup, I remember last year, before the pandemic really hit, a woman from Sunrise Rotary came in and she wanted to host Mayor's Cup down at the beach, which was a new idea, which I actually really thought was a good idea. Is Mayor's Cup gonna be downtown again this year, or is it gonna be over at the beach?
I think it's gonna be a mix. And they came and asked the same thing. The concern that I expressed is that it's at the beach, right? And there really is no solid infrastructure in terms of busing or biking to get people from downtown to the beach. But, you know, I'm not gonna say no, right? I don't think the city's in a position to say, no, you can't host it at the beach. I think one thing that we will wanna do is make sure that there's a good amount of events that are spread out throughout the city for these types of events, so that people who do come in from out of town and from the south end have access to those types of events rather than it just all being pushed up to the beach.
Yeah, it would be certainly nice to see a full saturation of events. It seems that people are really like, you know, starving for.
Well, we're ready.
I
I know. I'll tell you one thing that, and Julie's here from the farmer's market, that one thing that we saw over the weekend was a full pack downtown between the farmer's market and the Strand event. It was just, downtown was bonkers.
Yeah, even Friday night I saw you downtown.
Right,
It was lively downtown.
Yeah.
Everyone was sitting outside eating, and I went to both the farmers market. I stopped at that Strand and that.
Yeah.
They were both doing very well. Seeing it.
And the downtown restaurants were super busy too.
Yeah. They tested that.
I think that.
Saturday, I noticed it died down a bit, but the one.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very nice weekend. Yeah.
The weather was great.
Yeah.
And so we're, and on the events, if I wanted to set up an event, I would call Sylvia.
You can go to the website and set up an event, fill out the application, submit all the required paperwork on the application itself. There have been some modifications that we've made to ensure, for example, the street closure at Brickcon. None of the businesses were notified. So I asked Sylvia to include that information. Hey, have you notified impacted residents or impacted businesses of the street closure on the application? There are just nuances that were small changes to improve the process for everybody. But you can go to the website, download the application, call the office and get an application sent out, fill it out, return it with the appropriate payment and insurance information and any other requisite information required. And then if your venue is available for that day, perfect.
That's a good idea. I didn't even consider that. I guess do we get any complaints from businesses on Brick Street?
We did, which spurred that conversation, which it just makes sense. And typically, I think the council would ask, hey, have you asked or have you informed your neighbor that they're going to be potentially inconvenienced because the street's going to be closed in front of their business or their house? But, you know, it was such short notice that I think, and it's the first one in a couple of years now, so it feels like it may have been missed. You know, council and a new event for the year.
Makes sense.
I think it's also just common courtesy to make sure the neighbors, if they are going to be impacted, that they're, that they're informed.
Now, if Elizabeth and I each wanted to set up a competing event at a location on a specific day,
Same event or same location,
same location, different events.
whoever submits it
Whoever
first.
submits it first.
Yeah.
With all the required paperwork.
Yeah, and payment, which includes payment, right? So,
Someone was gonna win for second.
yeah.
That's very true. And if it's rained out or something like that, are there policies in place for that, or?
We would typically say there are no rain cancellations, there are no rain dates, so you just take your application with full payment. And there's a rain date that,
If I submit an application and like, let's say I get the gazebo at the Oval and the next day or the next weekend, the Oval is over, can I try to?
the oval is what?
The Oval's open the next weekend, I think I said that right, I think that's incorrect. Would I be able to try to change it to that, or that would require a new application?
We would ask that you submit it.
Okay. Any other discussion questions on this item?
So do we have all the, sort of carpeting and making these?
Yeah, it's a little intense.
Yep. The Harborside music, is that all set up then?
I believe
For all
at
the,
this
all the various
point,
festivals and?
I believe at this point, they've
Events?
submitted all their dates, they've submitted their application, their paperwork, their insurance, and their payment.
Perfect, that's nice. It'd be nice to see some nice.
Yeah, I would like to, at some point as these events start to really happen, is make sure that they're posted somewhere on a community calendar, maybe on the website, on our website, because I know we do have a calendar function that we can potentially add to. Our website's a little shaky, just with that new transition, still trying to work out what functionality is available on that site. It's not the best platform, to be honest, but still, it'd be nice to see a number of those events posted publicly, so people know that there are things happening in the city of Blackbird on city property. Not to say I'm not saying we should extend that kind of community calendar to every event happening throughout the city, but certainly those events that are happening on city property.
Are there any, if I wanted to set up a parade, I know we've had like Take Back the Night parade and stuff like that. Would that be the same event application? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just like anything else, just like a street closure, if you want to host a parade, you're gonna have, there's rules to that, right? So, it's gonna be a little bit more involved of an application, probably a little bit more required payment in terms of requirements. You need public safety and barriers, police presence and all these other things, and yeah, you gotta pay for that stuff, but, I think that's fair.
Yeah. And how close are we to like full saturation? Like if
Full saturation of our location.
yeah, if I wanted to set up an event.
Not close. I mean, like, look, you could submit an application for Saturday in August or something like that. And you probably could choose, I think at this point, from a number of different locations throughout the city.
Okay. Perfect. All right, any further questions, discussion? And moving on, we'll move to 3, CDL. 3.1 is discussion, citywide garage sale weekend.
So I believe this came up not too long ago regarding the resident asking about, the council meeting.
Yeah.
So it happened a few years ago before Mr. Miller's tenure that a citywide garage sale was set up in Durkee Street where people could bring kind of their stuff for sale.
Oh, that one was.
I don't know, man. I don't agree.
Oh, because other places will
Yeah.
will have a walking map.
Well, that's what, and
Oh,
after Mr. Miller and I talked about it, it seemed like one of those things where if it were the case that we had a citywide garage sale at Durkee Street, I don't know if we want to like create that type of swap meet environment, but rather having this like, hey, here's the date of the garage meet. It's arbitrary. I'm just pulling a date out of my hat. The August 8th and 9th if we wanted to host or promote a citywide garage sale that weekend. I think that's weekend. But we would promote it, and if you wanted to be a garage, or if you wanted to host a garage sale, you send us your address and we'll put a pin in the map.
Yeah,
And we'll just kind of keep updating the map so everybody can kind of show up at your place kind of thing. I think that would probably be a little bit more in line with what I would imagine for a citywide garage sale.
That's what I have in my mind.
Yeah, I think that would be probably a lot more appropriate too, with what we would want to do. But if it's something that we want to do, I certainly don't have a problem with trying to help organize and no, one more thing on your plate? You don't mind? Good. All right.
Oh.
I think that like council this one I could really like help out.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It sounds like a great, like I've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, a lot
Before
of little
council did
municipalities do that, like Rouse's Point will have a townwide yard sale, or
And
you go out to Cumberland Head, because they've got all those little internet, interconnection little streets there.
A lot of times what they do is put right in front,
Yeah.
like a little tent, and we'll say, whatever municipality garage sale on the weekend. Usually all people do is just drive up and down, like Shazy.
Yeah.
Drive around, browse.
Yeah, the other thing is, is it a city-run event? It could be to start with, but I'm sure there's a number of volunteers out there that you could kind of get together and say, hey, would you be willing to organize something like this? It could be an annual event, and it just becomes a natural thing at that point.
Yeah, I like it. It sounds like if you're planning on having a garage sale, why not have a garage sale when everyone's having a garage sale? And then people will come in from Moores and Shady and stuff like that, and would drive around Plattsburgh and maybe get lunch at downtown.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I like that idea. If we can get that going, I'm in favor of it.
All right, Mr. Miller and I will kick around the idea, maybe try to find a volunteer somewhere out there that can help.
Perfect. I'll help anywhere I can. Cool. All right, moving on to IT. This seems like a big one here.
Yeah.
4.1 IT managed service update.
Yeah, that's it. So as everybody knows, we engaged an IT managed service contract early in the year with SidQuest. There's a number of pieces of work that they are currently continuing to actively perform. Server patching and installing patching software so that the server patching can be done remote. They're probably about 80%, 70% through that. Same thing with workstations, number of server software on workstations for remote patching. Even though that may not be a service that we'll hire from them, it is something that will be, the infrastructure will be in place moving forward. It's a little bit more of a pricey service that they do offer to be able to manage patching remotely. They are doing a voice over IP readiness assessment, meaning they're going out to individual sites, taking inventory of the hardware that we use for voice over IP and making an assessment about what's the next phase of what we need to do internally to either up our network or maintain what we currently have, or even cost saving opportunities with what the type of hardware we have. So they're actively out there right now doing site visits, and they'll provide a report at the end. Firewall installation as part of this managed IT services, they're replacing a number of our firewalls right now. All of the firewalls, and earlier this year, you probably recall, we signed a purchase order for an additional number of firewalls that was in addition to what we had already agreed on purchasing. And the other part of that is right now they're doing the configuring site visits to install specific areas, water treatment being primarily the places they're going to look. And then once those are all installed, as we saw last time with some of the traffic monitoring, we can come back and make some adjustments based on department by department, where people should or should not have access to sites, any sort of anomalous traffic that may be negatively impacting our network, and then making adjustments from there. As I discussed last time, the disaster recovery module that is on the agenda tonight for approval of the funding and purchase of that service contract for approval, as well as a hosted IT analysis or hosted server analysis, and we'll discuss that further, may or may not incur additional costs to the city based on the amount of work that's being done. And that it does go against our current managed IT service contract. And if it is an additional expense, depending on how we proceed, it could be also credited back to our account, depending on if we go to a hosted model or not.
Perfect, and that hits all 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3.
Correct. The data contract is a little different just because we talked about this. This is the first light contract that we're currently in, that we're looking at what the potential for renewal is at this point, as well as some other additional options that we haven't quite sorted through yet. But once we do sort through them, it'll be a great exciting time for us.
And first light bought Prime Link, right?
Correct.
Any other questions or any further discussion from any counselors on this, these three items? All right, so then moving on, we have actually some draft resolutions to pass. First one is item number 4.4 is draft resolution to authorize budget adjustments for IT cost allocation, disaster recovery hardware. Would you like me to read the?
We'll take a motion and a second for discussion. And then once approval, if approval, then it'll move to the regular meeting for full council.
Perfect, I'm not reading it.
No.
I'll second. All right, moved by Councilor Gibbs, seconded by Councilor Canales. All right, any discussion on this item?
Yeah, so there's this, and I will say we could probably end up touching on all three of the next three items because they all go together. The first two items are the budget allocations for the final third item, which is the actual approval of the contract. There's the budget allocation's been split into two, so without both, it'd be the third one being moved. But it is a breaking out of the hardware, which would be considered a capital expense, funded, not finance. So that would be a budget allocation to purchase the hardware. The second one is a budget allocation to purchase the software, as well as the monthly fee to maintain the disaster recovery pieces and with storage. And then the final one would be the approval to sign the actual contract. And as with all of our IT services, we split these accounts out per department. So every department pays for their own particular bandwidth, if you will, based on their current allocation of telephone lines. That's just a model that we've used for splitting out IT service costs.
Very small.
Everybody uses their piece.
Yep. And so the total cost of the city of this is what's put forth in resolution 4.6.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's a little over $100,000, which would be a yearly coverage at the end of the year. Again, understanding that with this IT hosted analysis, you would be ideally making different moves away from a physical hardware infrastructure and more of a hosted virtual infrastructure, not totally hosted. There could potentially be a mix of that though, versus co-located on-prem or cloud-based. So there's a number of different options, but this number will likely decrease in size after the first year.
Yeah, that was my good.
Yeah,
But
and
this
then
is an upfront investment.
correct. The upfront investment is more hardware cost, which just hovers around just under $30,000. But then at the end of this contract, there's an opportunity to recover some of those expenses because we may not need those servers in-house.
Okay. Any discussion or questions regarding these items? I think it makes sense to have a motion to just combine all three items if they're all part and parcel.
Yeah, I will. I mean, like, this is a heavy lift, right? I don't want to diminish the process, and we talked about this last time about the importance of it. I think I'll put one more sentence on this, which is last month's managed IT service contract invoice was, I don't want to say significantly more, but it was more based on the number of alerts and disaster recovery failures that happened that they had to then chase down because of this issue. So, hopefully one way or the other, we're saving a little bit of money over the long term. In terms of putting these all together, we can certainly, I'd be comfortable putting budget adjustments together into one, both as hardware and software costs, and then creating a separate, item for the approval.
Okay.
Of the contract, is that all right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perfectly fine. And so 4.7 is authorizing the mayor to sign a letter of intent for the hosting analysis. How's that different?
Correct, so, the disaster recovery right now sits on our network, it backs up our servers as they are right now. The hosted analysis is just that, it's analysis of the servers that we currently have. And there will be three different options with each. One is a co-located or co-hosted, or let's say co-located, which means we take that physical server that we have, and we locate it somewhere else. It still remains to be our hardware, still accessible like it is normally, but it's hosted somewhere else. Okay, so that's co-located or co-hosted. On-prem it stays where it's at. It doesn't move on premises, it just stays, it doesn't, it's just, wherever it is right now, that's where it will stay. And then cloud is essentially that the server gets pushed up to the cloud, same accessibility, doesn't impact accessibility at all, doesn't impact performance or the function of that server. It just moves it to more of a virtual server, which we have a number of virtual machines, but the physical machine itself gets essentially pushed to the cloud.
Okay, so 4.7 is just authorizing you to have an analysis.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, and then at the end of the analysis, what happens is they say, here's the recommendation. You can either have all that you got now, you can have part located here, part located elsewhere, part in the cloud, or, there's a number of different paths that we can take.
Okay.
I do have a question on 4.6, so.
Yes.
I do too.
Okay, so the $111,500,
Yes,
is coming from general,
Rec
complex,
complex.
water, sewer, and
Correct.
library funds?
Correct.
Now, was this already budgeted as part of last year's budget cycle?
no, it was not, this is absolutely brand new. So but I will say part of it is, and part of it has been already allocated in IT service, managed service contracts, so part of it is, and then part of it is not. On the,
Now, I see with the library fund, but it corresponds with a decrease in contract services.
correct, so in that case, and it is explained in that case, money has already been budgeted in library fund for contract services, and which is just then being reallocated to library fund telephone to cover this expense for the library. And then MLD is going to be a separate fund as well, and then MLD will also contribute similarly to how the library is.
Yeah, because that was the only one where I saw a corresponding decrease, so the sewer policy just increases, the water pharmacy increases.
Correct.
General funds are increases. And all these departments are gonna have I assume department heads have been consulted and they know that they.
That's a good question. I'll have to go back to that because I talked to Richard about it, but I did not inform the department heads about this.
Okay. Well, they'll find out soon.
Yeah, kind of like a plan on YouTube.
Well,
I will say that I'll go back to them and have this conversation with them. If this doesn't work for them, then I will likely pull the resolution or find some type of way to make a motion on the floor to make adjustments to the resolution to make it more appropriate for department heads.
okay.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Yeah, and this would obviously still have to be discussed in the council.
Yeah.
Approved, of course. Does anyone have any other questions or any further items of discussion? So I'll keep them all separate. So right now, we already have a motion on 4.4. So we'll go to roll call. Councilor Canales.
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs.
Yeah.
Mayor Rosenquist. And Chairperson McFarland also votes yes. So that item passes. Number 4.5, do I have a motion?
Sorry.
Mayor Rosenquist and seconded by Canales. And we already discussed this, but if there's any further discussion, now's the time. Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call. Councilor Canales.
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs.
Yes.
Mayor Rosenquist. And Chairperson McFarland votes yes as well. Now moving on to item number 4.6, do I have a motion? Councilor Canales.
Second.
Councilor Gibbs, second. Any further discussion on this item?
Mm-mm.
Now, I guess my one last question on this item is, So this wouldn't be with Simquest, would it?
No, this is a third party that Inquest is partnered with, which provides this service in this hardware specific.
Yeah, and I remember them suggesting that it shouldn't be down,
Correct.
yeah. Okay, any further discussion on this item? And, moving to roll call, Councilor Canales?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Rosenquist? And, I'll vote yes as well. And then on to item number 4.7, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilor Gibbs, second by Canales. Any further discussion on this item? This seems like the lowest list of all the items, and, so we'll move to a roll call, Councilor Canales.
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs.
Yes.
Mayor Rosenquist.
Yes.
And Councilor McFarland also votes yes. All right, so those 4 resolutions are put forward to the entire common council to be heard a week from Thursday.
Yeah, we from this Thursday.
Yeah. And now moving on to public comment. Beth, are we still taking public comment on Zoom or anything like that? Okay. So I do see at least one member of the public here. If anyone would like to address the committee, now would be the time.
You're not required.
You certainly don't have.
No, I know,
Okay.
You can go up to the mic if you'd like.
It'd be preferable because nobody can hear us on there
Yeah.
Yeah.
if the pressure wasn't enough.
I'll be completely honest, you tell me to be here, so here. I'm sorry, Patrick.
Well, I'm very curious as to-
I don't know.
So I asked if you wouldn't mind coming because I was curious as to how the farmer's market was. I know I saw Councilor Gibbs there. We had a good time, and I know I talked to you when I was there. Things
Yes.
going well. But
Saturday was phenomenal. I can't even count. I couldn't even begin to guess how many we had down there. It just blew all expectations out of the water. It was absolutely wonderful. Everyone, mostly of the councilors, showed up. Mayor was down there, Matt showed up, Ethan showed up, and we had one small situation first thing in the morning, with the WRF plant. Some company did a delivery, I guess you could call it, and the smell was pretty pungent. And I let Matt know immediately, and John Ruff came right down, and stayed 3-4 hours. He answered questions, reassured people, let everybody know. He is amazing. He really, really pulled out the stops to just reassure everyone and let us know that, it's not gonna happen again. It was a misunderstanding and everything. And it 10 minutes and you didn't even smell it anymore. So it was good. We didn't even have a full house. I had 7 vendors who didn't show up because they thought it was supposed to rain. So it's even gonna be bigger this coming weekend. Also, because of the success, I'm gonna say at least 12 people contact me to be vendors down there.
Oh, that's so
Awesome.
cool.
So it's like I said, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better.
Making up for 2020.
Pardon?
It's making up for 2020, isn't it?
No. So,
Well, are there any
there's a
concerns?
few things, I'm sorry.
Sorry, so like one of the things I'm interested in, are there any concerns, anything that the city can do to help? I know the intersection of Bridge Street and Ruby
Oh,
Street
yes, that's great.
is
I wanted to talk about
something
that.
Councilor, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that was the biggest, and apparently they thought I could go up there, widen the road right away, right on the spot, and change those lights and everything would be gold. I let them know that you guys are all aware of the situation. I said, look, that's not my call. I'm sure. I said, the mayor's been down here. He's totally on top of it. A lot of the councilors, the community development's been down here. I said, they all are completely aware of what is going on, and don't worry, they're gonna rectify the situation. Matt asked me to come up with a short list, an easy short list of things that could be fixed now. And I came up with a couple of things, that we need to, that fill holes and that kind of thing, we need to fill, silly things that can be done really, really easily.
But I remember when I spoke to you, there was an issue with the lights at the front of the building or something like that?
Right, and that's another thing that, that's not something, I don't think that's a short-term fix, if I understand this correctly. And I'm pretty sure that's something that is gonna have to be, looked on the best avenue, the cost-effective and things like that, and bids and everything. So the vendors are aware that that is not an immediate fix, and that, you put up decorative lights last year, the year before, just kind of do it again, until, things can be adjusted and figured out. So they're good with that. The one of the bathrooms, the middle bathroom needed to be worked on. The striping needs to be kind of altered a little, parking lot's a little bit more, situated. Gosh, I mean, there's just little things.
How'd the bathroom trailer work out for you?
It was great. There was only one, what's her name? There was only one woman in the bathroom that was working. So that was a little bit, the line was a little bit long, but we did have the handicap porta potty, and that really came in handy. I'm not doing that deliberately. But overall, it was fine. There was nobody said, oh, it's gross or anything. We got it. It was perfectly clean. We got it in there, scrubbed the whole thing. It was
Very
great.
good to hear.
So,
Yeah, it sounds like everything went well.
yeah, I mean,
There's a little
it
room
was
for
great.
improvement.
It was great. Matt Miller, John Ruff, Ethan Vincent, all of you guys, thank you, honestly. We took a few hits in the last couple of weeks, but Saturday really showed the public that, hey, it's gonna be great down there. Come on down, check us out. They did, it was a success. It's gonna get better. I have more vendors coming.
Perfect.
So absolutely, I mean, it's like goosebumps because it's getting better. It really, really is.
Well, we're glad to hear it. If there's any way we can help, please let us know.
You guys have been great up until now, so, yeah, it's not, like I said, that's right on top of what we need, the short-term fixes that need to be done. Gonna get them done, and I know it, and it'll be great. DPW's been, enormously awesome. And I will say this, I was a little concerned, if we were gonna have vandalism down there. I was a little nervous about that, because I didn't know how that was gonna come into play. But we have big flower pots that we put around outside, and I've gone down there every day, and nobody's touched them, nobody's done anything to them. I think we're gonna be okay. I really don't think anybody's gonna do anything, and I think they understand that's for the community. That's a community run, it's just, it's for Plattsburgh, for nice villages, and they are. So we're doing good. We're happy.
Yeah, if you don't mind, thanks, Julie, I appreciate it. I do apologize for the sewage drop off
Hey,
in the middle of the market. And, we, certainly John has worked very, very hard to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
And we know that that's primarily the source of that smell that comes off of that plant. I will say that John and I are looking at an opportunity to do tours of the facility during the farmer's
I
market.
heard that, so I've taken it
Yeah.
too.
Oh, and that's the other thing, I talked to one of the vendors, he said there were tours offered to the vendors, some of them, not all of them can make it, so
Yeah.
I'll work with you to get another tour for vendors, so
That'd be
people know the real.
Yeah, that would be great, yeah, we set up a couple of different times, and the people work during the day, so it's
Yeah, of course, but we're flexible.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is Green Street, we all know, we understand that there's a bit of an issue there. We are working on something, for Green Green Street specifically, a long-term solution. In the interim, we've reached out to City PD to figure out a way that maybe there could be somebody there helping manage traffic
okay,
at that
okay,
light
okay,
for the short term.
okay.
And even potentially driving traffic down through Dodge Street. We're still trying to work on that, but there's a little bit of a problem with the gravel area, having to drive with the gravel area for people, which, you know.
By the stage, it's.
Yeah, so we're,
I direct with people, I'm like, you can go there.
yeah,
Well, we put one of the board members, downloaded an extra map. It's a lot like the one that's on the building down there. And she drove, kind of made it, you know, different scenarios. Try going this way, she do a really nice, it was a really good map, aerial map, and then she made it so people would understand, go straight down, go down by the marina, go by the stop stage, you know, and then the walkers, that's a big thing, going down Green Street. Go down past the train station, that sidewalk is right there, you know? Go right, just past the train station, there's the sidewalk right there, just follow the sidewalk.
yeah, and the reason, the only concern that I personally, and I've had this conversation with a number of counselors and a number of community members, is that it's so easy it was very easy to walk from the Strand or other places downtown onto Green Street. So the concern is, you know, making people walk the extra half.
And I understand that,
Yeah,
absolutely,
so-
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But at the end of the day, my point is, at the end of the day, yeah, we all recognize and acknowledge that Green Street's a pinch point. It's, again, we're growing into this, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
And we do have a solution, in mind, a long-term solution for Green Street, which I think people will be very excited about. So
Yep.
it's just a matter of growing into it, like you said. But I do appreciate the time that y'all spent down there.
Hey, I mean, it didn't deter people, they came down, they saw
Yeah,
us, they
exactly.
saw, you know, and that's all we ask. And in the interim, until we get the other option, you know, if it's a beautiful day, go ahead and try the walk past the train
Yeah.
station, what the heck, it's
Yeah.
just, you know, go down to the marina, look at the water for a little bit, then walk over and see it, you know? And then, of course, all the other awesome things that are gonna happen down there, that's even gonna be better.
Yeah.
So, which I'm really excited about.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you guys, very, very much. We really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, thank you.
Now, the interesting, Green Street was mentioned as one of the 14 points in the Carl Walker parking study of 3.5 years ago.
It was a long way, yeah.
Of interest, maybe something we can look into is on market days, making Green Street purely pedestrian. If you're in a car, I mean, I drove all the way down to Dock Street anyways, because I figured it'd be easier. And when you're in a car, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Just but we can come up with ideas for that.
I actually had somebody come up with the idea of doing a one-way,
Mhm.
going down Green Street and coming all the way around
Yeah,
by the marina,
that
coming
would
back up
work
Bridge.
until, that could definitely work until, you know.
One way going in, one way.
One way going down Green Street,
Yeah.
and then that way, you know, you've got just one side of traffic and the other side can be pedestrian.
Yeah.
And then going around to the harbor, or to the marina harbor side and coming back up
Yeah,
Bridge Street.
Look, I walked down Green Street too, and I made a little video of it. I haven't posted it, but it was like, yeah, you've got pedestrians, you've got families, you've got walkers and strollers and people that are in wheelchairs and little children that are running around. And you just say, look, yeah, this is concerning.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world, but it is certainly concerning, and there's a solution now that you see the problem, then let's come up with an interim solution for.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting problems with Green Street is, obviously there's a bottleneck issue there, but, another interesting is that people get I could see people were getting a little confused with the traffic, exiting on from.
Yeah,
Bridge
one
Street.
right is so,
Yeah, it's a little wonky.
it's wonky. I think when you come up Green Street, they don't know that once that light is green, turn right, and you don't need to stop at that one, you can go through
Yeah,
it.
I saw people stop at the.
Yeah, and it's very confusing. It's almost like you need a separate light for when you come up, Bridge Street, just before Green Street, it's like you need a traffic light there to stop them. And then when when you leave Green Street and that goes green, that other light stays green as well. So that way they're not confused. But
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that would alleviate people's concern if that rightfully agreed. But, it's gonna take some getting used to, but people obviously, after Saturday, they're willing to get used to it. They're willing to do it.
I'm glad that
So-
worked out. Is there any other new business any counselor or Ms. Mayor would like to discuss? I don't know anything either. So, that being said, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Counselor Canal, seconded by Counselor Gibbs. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, it is now 5:45, we are adjourned.